Hey everybody, welcome to Elevate Your Wealth, where every week in 5 minutes or less, you're going to get financial tips, education, and strategies that will help you to level up in your life. So my question for you is, do you have 5 minutes? Because if you do, this has the power to change your life. I'm Ashley Castle Pittman. Let's begin. So we all know today is a big day with the election, a lot of emotions, a lot of anxiety. Some people have fear around the election on either side based on whatever happens. So where I find a place of peace, and what I'm encouraging you to do as well, is to focus on the things in your life that you can control. Obviously, we can control how we show up in our day, our exercise, if we eat well. But as it pertains to our finances, while we don't have control of a lot of things, we don't know what's going to happen with world events in the coming weeks, months, and years. We don't know what's going to happen with inflation or with taxes. We do know that there is a guaranteed tax increase coming January 1st, 2026, at least if nothing changes. So there's a lot of things that are out of our hands, but we do have a few things that are within our control. And one of those things is how we grow our money. So in last week's video, I talked about a budgeting framework called the 50-30-20 rule, and also the importance of building an emergency savings. So once you have that savings being built, the next step is really to think about where you're going to keep that money in order to grow it the most effectively and efficiently. So most of us were raised learning about a good old savings account at our local bank. Maybe that's through Wells Fargo or Bank of America or Chase. I know when I was a kid, I remember getting my first checkbook and how exciting that felt to save money. I've always been a saver, but most of us are still keeping our money in these financial institutions that are not paying us. So a traditional bank savings account, like the banks that I already mentioned, most of the time they are paying you such minimal interest in a savings account, even as low as 0.01%. And if you're listening to this, you probably know because you looked at your statement and you know that you're making pennies in your savings account, but do you know that you have another option? I've talked to so many people who are keeping their emergency savings, whether that's 3 to 6 months of savings built up of their monthly expenses, and sometimes a lot more in a traditional bank. And you know what? A traditional bank like a Bank of America or a Chase, they are loving that because for every dollar that they get, they leverage your dollar up to 10 times, right? So for things like credit cards and loans, so they're making money on your money. Meanwhile, they're paying you next to nothing. So with a simple shift over to a high yield savings account is going to do wonders for the interest that you can make. So a few years ago, high yield savings accounts came on the market. And what they do is they just give you a higher percentage of interest. Usually the high yield savings accounts out there right now are giving anywhere from say 3.5% to 4% interest, which I know does not seem like a huge jump from 0.01% to 3.5% to 4.5%. But let's just say you're getting 4% in a high yield savings account. The difference between those numbers is huge, so much so that it's a difference of 400 times the interest. A few good high yield savings accounts that I recommend personally are Amex, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, and SoFi. There are definitely other ones out there, so you can do your research, but I do encourage you not to rate chase because they're all generally paying around the same amount. So say that you get one account, maybe the next month its rate drops a little bit, another one goes up. So as long as it's comparable, I also have access to a company that I could definitely connect you with. It offers a competitive savings rate, but it insures, FDIC insures up to $50 million. So say if you just got a big payout from a real estate purchase or maybe from a business, something like that, and you're looking for a way to have all of your money protected with FDIC insurance, which typically just goes up to $250,000 a person or $500,000 for a married couple, this could be a great option for you. We still have a traditional bank savings account that we pay all of our bills through, our mortgage, our electricity, kind of everything that's been set up on auto pay, but we don't keep any more than 1 month's of expenses in that bank account that's not paying us interest. Everything else from a savings perspective goes into a high yield savings account. Once you get to the 3 to 6 months of emergency savings, then what? Where do you put your money to where it's growing more efficiently? Because even if it's growing at 4%, you are essentially going broke safely. You're getting outpaced by inflation. So you have to put your investment dollars into other vehicles that will provide a higher return. So with that being said, we'll explore different kinds of vehicles, the tax statuses of different vehicles in future videos. So you guys have a great day. And thanks again so much for being here for today's session of Elevate Your Wealth.